Hello, wild ones. It's Cole Adams, and I'm here uh, on Christmas Eve. I'm filming this, but I wanted to show you some of my preparation for next year and um, tell you my word of the year for 2026. So one of the things I did this week was to put these in the right order. Um, to make a bunch of handmade journals that make me happy. And this makes me so happy. So these are my draw-in journals for the next year. Hopefully I'll fill all these up and need more. But this is the goal for 2026. And I kind of got there because of the color goal. I thought that was really fun. So I made these. I just folded 8.5 by 11 in half and then did a pamphlet fold, a pamphlet stitch with 3 holes. I don't really ever care about measurements or anything. And I leave my strings long often because I always want to collect weird stuff and dangle it off the center. So these all have long tails. And I like that this will help me kind of see where I'm at through my year too. And orange is my favorite color, so I really went Roy Jeebus. So I took some Canson watercolor paper, and I've been feeling the urge to work a little bit bigger and bigger spreads in watercolor and in mixed media. So these 3 are going to be my starter pack for big journaling this year. I need a bigger board, so I need to make that. But I think these are going to kind of be color focused on color stories. And for me, I really love to make my own journals because I just love to take one signature out at a time. I feel less pressure and I feel like I fill up more journals in general if I do it in little chunks. I also have some other kind of more life journal parts, and I do have one more book that same size that's going to become my um, Luna calendar, my moon calendar, where I keep track of my daily life, but also like the swims I've taken, some hiking goals, things like that go in this calendar. And I have to actually put the calendar together, but it's going to kind of live in that same journal space as those really fun colored journals. And then finally, a 2026 home chore chart, just to start really working through. And this had some house chore chart stuff in before from previous years, but I've started actually writing down all the things we want to accomplish in our home and some of the prep we're doing because my son is getting ready to head off to school. So the house is going to change pretty significantly this year. I won't be cooking as much or as the volume that I cook at now, or if I'm cooking maybe more infrequently and just cooking the same volume and freezing a bunch. Um, and that kind of goes into my word of the year. So I do a couple classes, and actually most of mine were canceled this year because of the horrendous flooding by us. Our house wasn't really affected, but people in our neighborhood were, and pretty much everybody in Western Washington has had a really rough December. It's been a lot of work managing how to get out and around. There's just roads that are closed, and definitely you just see people like heartbreaking, the amount of houses and people's lives that were really, really, truly disrupted. Um, we don't know anybody whose house was super duper flooded, but we definitely have been thinking about them and donating to local food banks and things like that that we know that could be useful. This is my journal cover for those handmade journals, and instead of making it so that they're not transitionable, I just like to put in cords of elastic so I can slip the book in and out if I need to. So this is what will keep all of my books together for this year. And then I was going to show you kind of my word of the year last year was vessel. And I did this hand drawing of this dirigible, and I ended up photocopying this and putting it in many different places. And that's how I love to keep my word of the year fresh. So I would really strongly suggest that. And then this was my life book this year, and I did it all in one book. I didn't find I journaled in it as much. That's why I'm going back to the more, the model of not doing it all at once. And I had my calendar in here. I had some goals for like sacred hosting, I called it, for craft and game parties, mosaic parties, things like that. I did some artwork and some journaling in here. This was a meditation piece that I went through with a friend's meditation. Picasso dog, one of my favorite, and Picasso cat are one of my favorite uh, things to do with friends out and about. I also love the idea of celebrating in the center of your book, and I wanted to show you uh, my celebration page for this book. So when you get to the center, you get to celebrate. I made this awesome kind of quilting pattern with a set of pens that I had just bought. They're alcohol markers. They're lovely. I did not realize how incredibly intense they would be for pushing through the page. This is the back of that page. This is the next page. And this is the back of the next page. So obviously, alcohol markers, you shouldn't use them in something that you really worry or care about. I always have stuff in the back of my book that is ideas for next year, 2026, 2027. A lot of like what to bring to art camp. If I'm checking out Braille paper, I might take that and I might skeletonize this book and just pull out the things that are important, but I'll definitely read through the whole thing on New Year's Day and pull out the themes that were most important from this year from my daily journals. So I want to get back into daily journaling. That's why I switched out my spots. And then the other things I really want to do before I reveal my word for the year is continue down that handmade life. I'm going to do some cutting while we're talking about this because I have these. I laminated some watercolors to put on my gifts for gift tags. I made gift bags this year again because I just was running out of, I had more presents than I had bags. So I have a few more gift tags to add. And I like to laminate watercolors and then put a hole in them and use a piece of ribbon around that and then hook them to the gift bag and use dry erase marker to write who the gift was for, so then I can just erase it and be ready for next year's gifts in the same gift bags. It's my very artful way to hopefully make less waste from our family life. So that's always been a goal of mine, is like customizing, like creativity and doing things that are good for the earth are the kind of driving forces themes I notice in my life over and over and over again. So customizing, like I'm wearing this dress and I put in this huge pocket. I mean, it's huge. It holds a full sketchbook. But part of the reason I liked this dress, but I wasn't wearing it much, and it didn't have any pockets. So pockets are part of my life mission. Always putting pockets into things. The other thing I've done recently is adding these little tiny carabiners and hooks on things that like this, or these are my current earbuds, and they didn't have any way to hook a handle on them. And I really like a handle that goes fully around my wrist. And I made this one with all these kind of scrap fabrics. I'm just always making, that's my way. I use like the teeniest, tiniest of scraps. I have some handles that are pre-done for other things, and then a little bit bigger handle for more beefy, like project bag or something. If I could put a handle on this, I would. If I could put handles on, often I'm putting things on scissors to keep them handy, but I'm always trying to kind of customize and make my daily life as easy as possible. Um, but my word for the year, that's what we're here for, the main dig. So last year was vessel, and it was all about really making sure my boundaries were strong, and um, making sure I wasn't just pushed any direction, and I could use a rudder on my vessel to go any way I wanted. And not everybody was allowed to come and impact my daily life. I was thinking about media I was consuming a lot. I was thinking about like really looking at my inbox critically and seeing who needed to be there and who didn't. Definitely had to say goodbye to some friends that um, I just didn't need to spend time hashing over things that weren't my story. Vessel was just something kind of as a protection for all the stuff that was going to happen this year. I kind of knew it was going to be a rough year, and it was. And using the word vessel to kind of guide me and know I had some agency in what I consumed and who I involved myself with, uh, helped both me and my family. I also talked with my husband this year. It was interesting because we came up, my first iteration of my word for the year this year is preparation. And part of that is we're going to have a lot of changes in our life. Um, all of our younger generation is graduating in some way in spring. So some are graduating from grad school, some are graduating from college, some are graduating from high school and an AA degree in college. So we know things are going to change. And we're talking about like, do we downsize? Is this the time we choose to make a big move? We're thinking about like what's ahead for us is definitely retirement at some point. How does that look? How does our house look for that? And our lives look for that? We had a really big, beautiful trip this year. We went on a vessel, which was part of the word idea too. We went on this lovely, amazing cruise for our 50th birthdays, and it was so delightful. Um, and we probably aren't going to take a massive trip this year because we took a massive trip last year. But how do we make things just sing for us? And one of the ways I know I need to work, because I've been feeling really overwhelmed by our house lately and just the amount of stuff in our house, it's definitely a year of retracting and pulling in and editing. I can tell I'm feeling that way already, and it's not even Christmas yet. So it's definitely going to be on my radar that that's something I'm headed towards. So that's part of my word for the year choices. So my husband chose preparation, and I needed it to be a little, I thought prepare was going to be my word for the year, but I needed it to be a little bit sassier. So I found some thesaurus recommendations, and one of the things they talked about was that you make ready. And I was thinking about sailing when I thought about that word, and like when you're getting ready to make a change on a ship, um, or you're like gonna set a sail, you make ready, you call out where you're headed, and then you head that direction. So this year is a lot about kind of like envisioning and goal setting, and also just doing some hard work, editing the house. thinking about what things I'm actually going to do with my life. Do we need those snowshoes? Am I ever going to actually snowshoe? I don't know, maybe. We'll see. Um, is there, what are we headed towards? We've been doing a lot of pottery. Are we going to continue that? Uh, and so make ready is my word for the year. And part of my word for the year this year is I put together, I always have a spiral bound notebook for like this kind of notebook for my house plans. But I thought for this year, it'd be nice to have one where I kind of hold all of those make ready ideas and start really envisioning. Like if I have a dream about making ready, write it in here so that I have something to reflect on next year. And if I'm planning a trip or anything like that, I'm going to put it into this book. So I have that book. I have a large vision board or envisioning for this year. Of all things I love, I feel like making ready is all about like figuring out the keys, and if we are thinking about moving anytime soon, it feels like a good image to hold a key. This is a madrona tree, and I would love to have waterfront property, and I'd love to have a madrona tree on our property. That's a goal. Some shelf mushrooms. I really want to do some more hiking. We talk about hiking the moon. There's a little tiny human there, and I just put like a forest with a path in it. I put this big kind of organization piece. Making sure things have a place is always important to me. And then the back is Mount Rainier because we want to stay in Western Washington, and Tahoma is just such a image of like love and connection for us. I made that one for my mirror up in the bathroom when I'm kind of getting started with the day. And then I made this one that has very similar elements. Some of them are the same picture, just reimagined. There's make ready and more shelf mushrooms, some water, this beautiful madrona tree. And what I did with this one is I cut this owl out separately and put it in here. And I decided owl was going to be my bird for the year, not just my word for the year. I had sparrows as my bird for the year. So I've put in some owls into my journaling. And then I also included a spread where I could just take pictures of myself actually doing the things I talk about in this, like a becoming board is what it's called, but I didn't really want to take pictures and swap them out. I wanted to just give myself space to selfie it on up and show when I'm becoming this make ready word. I also made a little make ready bookmark for myself to put in my morning kind of reading book. And I always end up I haven't really filled this out yet. I've really been thinking about it a lot, but I haven't really been filling it out. But this is my word for the year worksheet because I still go to school. And yes, I will put a gold star on it when it's done. But yeah, that's my word for the year. That's my practice. I will do a back of the phone vision board as well with my word of the year on it, but I haven't done that yet. And I probably will do it near New Year's. I always do that with a friend. And so we will do that on New Year's Eve, most likely. And I just wanted to say thank you, Wild Ones, for being along with this crazy wild journey that I'm on of doing content creation and art. And really, it's been a beautiful art year. I've taught a ton. I've taken a ton of classes this year. I've done this huge pottery journey. I haven't really shared. If anybody wants to hear more about pottery, please leave it in the comments. And I just wanted to say thank you for your eyes and attention, which I know is not the most easy to get in this economy and in this time in our lives and time in our world. If you love what we're doing here, please like and subscribe And it would be just a joy to hear your words for the year, your connections to this practice, and what you're preparing for in your life and in your 2026. I hope that you stay weird, you stay wild, and you keep creating.